This is a presentation on STEM land at Isai Ambalam School. This is the space we have. This has been an entirely new experience for us to work with younger children on STEM related activities. Here we are working from 3rd graders to 7th graders. We have earlier worked from 7th grade onwards, so these are much younger children. So we went in with what are the values we want to see followed at STEM land. And what we want to see in children, which is responsibility, equality, and the courage to create. We also went in with our games and puzzles, so the strategy games, as well as pattern matching games, help children sort of explore the more important aspects of mathematics, which is being able to see patterns in the world and sort of have something that's intellectually challenging. So here the children are matching patterns in 2 cards. I can see that fire is common. We also have our math material on math, like geoboards, fraction kits, and we use that with the children, so children have physical material that they can connect to mathematical concepts they're learning. And here we also have Dynas blocks, and we're using it for algebra and measurements. So the first quality we want to see is children taking responsibility of their learning and of the space, of their learning space. They started with children creating simple materials for their own learning and for the learning of others. Here you see 5th grade girls sawing a piece of wood to create a 1 meter long scale. And here they're using that 1 meter long scale to create a square that's a meter square and asking a question, well, how many centimeter squares fits into this 1 meter square? And it was interesting that initially children were stuck with not being able to go beyond 1,000, because that's usually what they have seen. 1,000 grams makes a kilogram, 1,000 millimeters makes a meter. It was only when they started putting in things they knew, like their notebook, which they had measured, just 285 squares, and then they put in the notebook and said, okay, how many notebooks can you put in? And they soon realized that it was way more than 1,000, and then they were able to recognize, okay, it's 100 centimeters is a meter, 100 and 200 is 10,000. And then promptly in a class or 2, they were actually working with younger kids, and they asked the same question. Here we have created a meter square. How many of these small centimeter square cubes can sit on it? Well, a centimeter cube, cubes can sit on it. And then when they again noticed that the children were stuck with 1,000, this child put 1,000 on a row and said, well, there you go, here's 1,000 and there's so much more left. They also used it to create small materials, for example, for ratios. Here they're doing ratios of squares. So the sides are scaling as a ratio, but the areas they are noticing is scaling as ratio squares. The children also helped make the space possible for STEM land. They cleared out an old storage space, and they sorted the material and put it out so that we could use the space for STEM land. And when we start, basically a STEM land fan broke down, and so the children are helping us fix the fans. The second quality we want to see in STEM land is welcoming everyone who wants to learn. So we have the very young, and that's my 5.5-year-old son setting up a 7-segment display. And we have young children using tools, and they're quite good at it. And we have both boys and girls using the material equally. And we have the not so young. That's our head teacher. And she wanted to see what the children are doing and said, okay, I would like to learn how to light up the 7 segment display. So she's working on that. And the third quality we'd like to see is the courage to create. So here's a blinking signboard that the children made that makes their name and it makes it blink. This is a bubble blower. Um, the third grade children made a welcome sign on our opening, and they have put LEDs all around it and strung it up. And they're also making skeletons. We work on math and science and even some aspects of social with some children. There's a buzzer game that the children made, and the Taj Mahal that was part of one of their education by design projects. And what has been very interesting for us is the sort of audacity of hope that children have. And we've had a very severe water issue, and for a week in January and for a week in February, we didn't have water, and we had to bring in tankers, and children were filling buckets, and we were also filling buckets to use water. And the third, fourth graders sort of responded to this scarcity with like an abundant mindset and said, we are going to build a pond. And so they started digging in their break times, in their lunch times. And within a couple of weeks, it was something worth measuring. They started measuring it. It's almost 9 feet across. It's a fairly big pit. And then, of course, it's a mud structure, it wouldn't last. So they said, okay, what do we need to do? We said, well, you need to cement it. So we'll do it. So they mixed 3:1 cement and they started cementing it. And they've cemented the first layer and then they've put a reinforcement mesh on it. And they're watering it so that the cement dries up without cracks. Of course, that gave me a good chance to take the 7th graders there and ask them what they think the volume of this tank is going to be and how much water it would be able to store or that we would need if we ever filled it. And here are the children working on the second layer and the bricks around. And everyone just works on everything, whatever is needed, whatever is there. Children get together and sort of get it done. And here they're building a place to sit. So at STEMland at Isai Ambalam School, we're simply learning through engaging with life.